Hey there, everybody. Joe here. Good to see ya. I've got a painting submitted by Donnette, and she would like me to take a look at this and offer advice. Uh, Here is the problem that Donnette describes. It doesn't match her vision. The image feels somewhat static and lacks the vibrancy and energy of the actual scene. So, this isn't like a specific technical problem. We're just going to try to identify how to generally enhance this picture in giving you the feeling of the experience that happened. We want motion, we want depth, we want color. Okay, so let's take a look at the picture. It really is a beautiful picture. Let me flip over to my digital app that I'm using here. I've already got it loaded in, and I'm just going to try to pick out some things and adjust some colors and other elements. So immediately I see something that I like to call the outline effect. This happens a lot by accident. No one really intends to make the picture flat, but here's something that flattens it uh, uh, pretty commonly. So if you look at the sea turtle, beautiful job on the lighting. I like the contrast. The turtle itself has good three-dimensional qualities. But if you look at how the paint was blended right up to the edges, we can see a very consistent outline of, of shadow most of the way around the turtle. It's subtle. It's not a big thing. It's just little. But when you have gradient shadows that match the outline of a foreground object coming from the layer behind, that's hard to excuse me, hard to describe, but let me show you what I mean. Let's try to make this turtle look like it is on a separate layer out in front of the layer behind it. So I'm gonna make my line as tiny as possible, and I'm gonna grab with my little color sampler tool. Let's grab that top edge color. Let's use that and really get in here. I'm just gonna make the head bigger. Forgive me for destroying the lovely anatomy of your turtle. All right, I'm just bringing the color up to go on top of that slightly darker edge. I know this seems like splitting hairs. I mean, we are doing strokes that are not a lot bigger than a hair, but I'm hoping that you'll see that this does in fact make quite a difference. Now, let's see this gradient right in here. See that shadow, how it just goes right along the back of the turtle. You know, it's not like that can't happen. It's just that when a background accidentally outlines something, even with just a gradient, you can get this effect. Now, while we're at it, why don't we add a mid-tone? Mid-tones are wonderful things. If you look at these, bushes, sorry, let me switch to my other tool here. If you look at these, not bushes, the coral, the green coral, this is a separate thing that might be something bothering Donnette with this picture. The absence of color where dark blends to light. So that's what, you know, I've previously called a transition color. Let's call it a mid-tone. But when you mix a bright color like here with darker shadows, paint will really subtract. It has a subtractive reaction when you mix those. So we can end up with less color here than what might be ideal or what maybe you saw in real life. So I'm going to take that color and enhance it, and then use that down here to hopefully get rid of the outline effect on our cute little sea turtle. Great job with these objects, by the way, Donnette. Beautiful work. I'm going to sample that color where I can find the mid-tone. I just want the value, and that value is going to be pretty gray. Hopefully I'll be able to turn it more green. Let's go a little brighter. Let's maybe like go up in this range right there. Maybe that, maybe that'll be good. Let's try that. And what we're going to do, you can see when I sampled that color, this shows the RGB values. It was way over here to the right on gray value. We're going to bring it down here and just enhance that color. Okay, so let me make the stroke size maybe a touch bigger so I can get done in time for dinner. And we're going to add that color in there. We're going to add some color in here, all the way down to that shell. And then I'm going to take this one. Let's take this color here and use that and bring it down right here, all the way to the shell. This doesn't have to be done. I'm not showing the right way. This is just strategy to really get rid of that outline effect on turtle. I'm going to blend these now. So let's make that a little bit smaller as well. Let's just blend this. You know, it's not going to match your nice paintbrush texture, but it's going to be enough for us to observe the final effect. Hang on. We're going to do this. There. I changed my mixing mode. I've got an algorithm built into this that mixes like paint does, but I'm going to cheat a little bit and make it not get darker where I blend them together. Paint darkens when you blend it, and that can be a problem. This is a nice shortcut of using a digital app is you can change what colors do when they blend. So I'm going to zoom out, look at it. There we go. We can see a little bit of difference already where the turtle is popping forward in front of those. Forgive the crude mixing, you know, it doesn't have very nice texture like Donnette had added, but this is just examples of things that can be done with the colors, so we won't be too hard on me, right? Okay, now I'm going to go like this. I'm going to zoom in here, sample the color on the back of that turtle, and we're going to make sure that the back of the turtle also goes all the way over. See, I'm drawing all the way over. No outline. There we go. So these can be very subtle things to look for, but you can go across a whole painting and make sure that you don't see the outline effect. So anywhere I see it, I'll try to adjust. Now I'm going to go along this bush because I see it there. So I'm going to grab this color here. Let's grab that. And let's go along here like this, bring it out there, and then let's grab this color here and go up a little bit with that one. See how it's a little bit dark above that? Tiny things. See, the problem is not that it's in one tiny spot, it's that it's very consistent across the entire edge, and our eyes are like designed to see lines. We see that line. It's a real obvious thing at a glance, and it has a way of shutting down the depth. Let's put that in there. Let's get this, maybe go over that line. I'm going to see if I can combine different parts here to get it done faster. Maybe we'll grab that same color in there. Let's grab that little color, put that there, put this here. All I'm doing is overlapping where I see that outline effect. You can see more here. Let's try going the other way. Let's adjust the background on this one. Let's sample this color. Beautiful job, by the way, Donnette, on your glow gradient. Man, the light rays in this are incredible. Great color mixing. You know, if I zoom out, great job not getting the look of fog on your light. You know, it takes some careful color. You know, you really got to add color to these in order to get them to not look like fog. So great job transitioning from those rays to the atmosphere of the water. That's hard. Okay, now I'm just coloring this in. Forgive the crude technique. We're going to put this in here, and then we're going to see a more three-dimensional transition, hopefully, between, you know, from, maybe I said that wrong, you know, I just want separate layers without anything pulling them together and flattening. Okay, now I'm going to put more mid-tone in here. So let's sample that same mid-tone I grabbed earlier. Let's get some of that. and we're going to put it in the shadows. I'm trying not to overly saturate colors with the computer that are not even possible with your paint palette. So that's why I'm swatching it with the program as opposed to just picking my most saturated green that's in there, because then that's just what we can do digitally. It doesn't represent what your camera is showing us is possible with your actual paint palette. So we want to use the colors that you've got there. So I'm putting a mid-tone. I'm just scribbling that color in, and you can see how that the presence of that mid-tone can really help to give depth to the shape of your let's call it coral here. I'm going to mix that. Let's grab that mid-tone here, maybe right here, something in between. Now I'm going to put that in between these, put it in between these. So I'm just gradually adding stages of mid-tone. This is just a lighter mid-tone, and just putting them in between. If I was taking a longer time, I might try to make a nice gradient in there. But the short description is I'm adding color between the highlights and the shadow, just adding them between. Maybe we'll put some extra little deals in here. Okay, there we go. We've got mid-tone in that little island of coral formation. And now I want to enhance the atmosphere of this picture. So I love this blue. There's no reason that you can't use a bolder blue in the shadows. So if shadows, if you've staged your atmosphere to be very blue, and then you see something that's very colorless, it can go against the feel of deep dramatic atmosphere. So I'm going to try to enhance that as well by taking a blue that I know is available in your palette. We'll take that one and hopefully add some nice lighting. We're going to put atmosphere in the shadows. Shadows take on atmosphere color more than highlights. It's kind of like with light. Since you're mixing light, a shadow doesn't offer anything to the mix because it's an absence of light. You know what I mean? So when a light color mixes with the shadow, the color coming from the light dominates the hue of that mix. So without making it too much lighter, I'm just making it more colorful. That's my intention. And everywhere I see those shadows, that's where I'm trying to do it. Hopefully I didn't drop the contrast down, because I know this blue is maybe a touch lighter. All right, let's do the blender tool. That looks like about the right size. I'm just going to blend a little bit so it doesn't look like my crude. This is a touch screen, so I'm just smearing along with my finger using that blending tool. Okay, let's go in here. And hopefully Donnette can use her technique that's much better than my smearing here to add interesting things into this scene. There we go. Now we've got some blue in there, and that will add heavy atmosphere. But now, maybe I went a bit light on it. I don't know. Let's add some more of that. Let's get a darker blue. Here, let's get this swatcher again. Let's grab that color. And this time, we'll go a little bit darker. Let's darken it down like this. And now we're going to put it in here. Let's do that. Let's go even darker. Let's do this. Maybe right here. Let's see what that looks like. A little more blue. Let's go a little lighter. It's hard to get it just right, I have to admit. The touch screen is a little bit jumpy. Okay, here we go. Blue in here. So I'm just adding blue to these shadows once again. Lots of color, but I'm not trying to make it lighter, just bluer. So, if I make it too light, that's just my error. I might go overboard on the color and accidentally, lighten things too far. But hopefully you get the picture. All right. Now we got some darker shadows in there, and that color is hopefully adding some nice atmospheric depth. We could put that also on the rocks. You don't have to, you know, it's your picture, and I didn't see the photo, but these are just things that can be done. I wouldn't dare to say that these are things that ought to be done. I don't really like when people talk that way. I'm going to take this and just add a little bit of color under these two. You know, it seems like a small thing, but I think that color in shadows is easily overlooked in pictures, very easily overlooked, and it's a big difference maker. Sorry, I'm trying to get this. Looks like I got a little bug in my program that needs fixed. Let's see what happens there. A little bit bluer, and we'll use that blender tool. Yeah, I was just kind of jumping my little selector, jump into a higher spot. It's full of bugs, my little app here, but it's been fun to work on it. Okay, the intent was to make those bluer. I don't know if I succeeded, but hopefully you get the point. And let's give it another shot here. Let's go. Let's take this and get a blue, like maybe something in here, maybe like that color. Let's try that color. Ah, there we go. That looks better. There we go. I think that's a better fit for our project here. So we're adding color to the shadows to get deep atmosphere. You can get real nice deep atmosphere. Now your closest foreground objects, I really do like to go all the way to a true black. So I'm not trying to eliminate black. I'm just looking for places that I can add a heavy atmosphere. And so since this formation was a little further back, I chose to add the blue to that one. But I think it's a good move to leave some of that black in. I'm going to darken some of this again because I think it looked good and I lost some of that darkness. I meant for this to be a short video, but hey, you know, it's worth getting some good results here if I go a little bit longer on it. Let's do that. I just wanted to make more of a gradual change from my black to the dark blue, and then we're getting lighter, you know, because we're approaching our furthest away atmosphere is really blue, like that. Okay, now I see more outline effect I'm going to try to get rid of. So I don't know if this is the fin on top of this fish, so forgive me if I destroy your fish, but I think if there's a bright highlight there, then the fin would maybe not be this dark. Anyway, you know the goal. It's just to get rid of the outline. We're just going to swatch the background. I'm going to go like this, get rid of that outline. Let's make it a little bit smaller. Let's get rid of it here on the tail. And let's go here. And maybe we can use this and make a little bit smoother back. Let's try again. Okay, there we go. There. I'm sure I destroyed the actual anatomy of the fish, but you know. Okay, here's another one. So these are little boogers, these outlines, you know, they hide, and when the number gets high, it creates a look on your picture. So I'm going through, and you know, it's like hunting for little bugs that have infested your 3D effect. You know, trying to get rid of the bugs. All right, let's get rid of that little shadow. See how that fish is floating a little better? Now, you know, floating as in out in front of the background. Whoops. Let's make that a little smaller. I got my blender tool very large here. Trying to blend this background. Let's just blend it. We don't want to see outlines. Let's try to get rid of those. Get rid of that outline. Just kind of blend this. It's not that you can't have details, you know, it's just that you don't want those details to do this to your picture. So blending away those shadows, they're just gradient shadows, you know, but they create an unlikely outline on the object. And I'm just trying to get rid of those. Okay, we're going to take this right here, take that color, and we're going to just reconstruct the little fin on this fish just for the sake of getting a more constant outline there. See, now our fish, it doesn't have the outline effect, so it feels less photoshopped into the picture. Here's another one. This effect is pretty abundant in this, so hopefully this is a, you know, that demonstration gives you enough to go on to address all of them at yourself instead of me going through and getting all of them. But I'm going to try to get a lot so that we can really observe the difference. I want to get this lighter color and scribble it in here. I just swatched from right there. Let's go up in here. Let's grab this color right there. And to go here and get the belly of the seahorse. You know, it seems like it would just be perhaps artistic flair or something. You wouldn't think that you'd get such a dramatic effect from a few little soft shadows outlining something. But you do. The effect happens. I'm going to take this and go along here. Slice off that outline, slice off that outline. Let's go across. Nice seahorse, by the way. Very nice seahorse. I'm looking at it in pixels, but great job on this. Really looks very lifelike. Okay, let's see if we can go around, get those outlines. There. Now the seahorse is floating out in the open space more, so is the fish. And so now a gradient change that comes into the foreground could be very helpful. So here's something that flattens your picture. If this is closer, if this area, let me circle it. If this area is closer than this area, then we want to see more of the sand color on the first circle and less on the higher second circle. So let's try that. Let's go like this. Let's put some kind of seafloor color that you've already got in there. I don't want to ruin my work on the fish, so I'm just going to blend it here real quick. Like this. I don't want to destroy your signature either, even though it's just digital. Something about that feels really wrong. So I'm not going to do it. I'm go like this. Blend this in. Let's just get a gradient that goes to closer, less blue color, less atmosphere colored ground. Brings it forward. You see how that works? Okay, and then as I go back here, let's swatch this color right here. Perhaps we can use that one. Yeah, let's just kind of put that up in here under the fishy like this. I'm going to get that outline effect again if I'm not careful. Let's go all the way around the fin. Really go all the way up to it. You know, I do a lot of work on the edges in a picture as I'm finishing it, and this is a lot of what I'm doing when I'm focusing on the edges. I don't like to, on a large mural, I really don't like to waste time painting background that I'm just going to paint over, you know? So I try to just paint what I need, and then I've got edges of my background, I got edges of my foreground, and then the final stage of the painting is bringing them together. And so I do a lot of this. Let's swatch these, get the outline effect away from the fin. Let's go in here, like this. Very subtle thing that is annoying. I remember working for hours and studying a walkway that Mavis, one of our regular viewers, she did this real nice painting of a stone walkway, and we were together trying to figure out why the depth wasn't happening. And in the end, my analysis, after a lot of staring at it, was that we had outline effect happening on rocks that was very unintentional, but you know, it's subtle. It's easy to miss it. I'm gonna see if I can. You know what? Let's use the blender tool rather on this, and just soften these. I'm trying to make this background a little bit bluer than the foreground, but it's not like we can't have variation. It's just that gradients are your best friend. They're just so helpful. Okay, so now we're starting to see more depth happening. Now there's no reason we can't add a little bit of mid-tone. I know it's underwater and you don't see a lot of mid-tones in skin in underwater scenes, but it could be done. We could go right there where shadow meets light. Let's use that color, but let's just make it a touch more skin colored. And you know how I'm going to do that? Since we're in the green zone with this, we're just going to make it less green. Just go all the way to the gray. I don't know if that's going to work. Let's see. Let's see what it looks like. And the idea is that against all of this blue, that gray will just look a little bit more red, like natural skin, than what is currently on there. See how it's kind of green? So opposite of green is a magenta, but that'll work too. And so I'm just going to put little bits wherever shadow meets light. See, wherever the shadow meets light, I'm going to put that color. We got shadows in here, wherever it meets light. And then I'm going to blend it, because the hard lines look kind of weird. My blender was kind of big. Let's change that line size. There we go. Put that in there, blend that. Blend this into the shadow. The idea is that we don't want to get something greenish where the skin tone meets a shadow. And that can happen when you don't want it to happen with paint, because paint loves to turn green when dark colors meet light colors. Okay, so just a very subtle change on the skin tone. You could do that all over to make it feel a little bit more like translucent sunlit skin, even though it's underwater. I would do it a lot more extremely and add more orange color to this mid-tone if we weren't underwater, but there is quite an absence of the red colors when you're underwater, so we won't go overboard with it. Here's another little spot where it could be done, right here where the light meets the shadow. Let's see if we can do it. Hardly a difference, isn't there? Hardly a difference at all. Let's see what happens when we blend that. It's just a little bit less green than it was, and that can make that skin feel more natural and illuminated by the sun. That's all. Okay, I really like the way you did the rays. I'm not going to mess with those. I just think they're beautiful. But you can work your way toward bluer blues just to enhance this, even if it's not the real deal. Now we've got natural glare on the canvas, so forgive me for I'm just going to get rid of that. But on your picture, you can just saturate those blues as you move away from the light, and I think it could look real good. You can get some nice contrast. It'll make your light look even more gold just by making the blues more blue. So I can see that this color is available in your palette from other places that don't have glare on your picture. So we'll just conveniently get rid of the glare on this one. And then I'm going to take this landmass and I'm going to make it very blue as well. I see you've got greens in there. I'll try not to destroy those. Let's take this, darken it just a touch, but I didn't desaturate it. So I can see that when you're darkening your colors, you're losing saturation. So don't forget about the helpfulness of midtones as you're doing that. Now this is looking similar to that color, so I'll just blend it into what you've got in here. Oh man, I just barely missed your fishy. I don't want to destroy those. Those are some good fishies. Not bad outline effect on those. Those are floating along nicely in your seam. I'm going to try to restore some of your green underwater vegetation here. Let's see if we can swatch some of that color and just add a few little doodads in here. Oh, smear it. My technique is not as pretty as yours with this little app, but it's a fun thing to tinker with. This is a different version on my computer than what's uploaded right now. I'll keep everybody updated if you want to tinker with this app. It's kind of fun not having to jump through any hoops to just upload a picture and draw on it. You know, I find it useful. Okay, I'm going to put this in here. Let's zoom out and see where we're at. There we go. Okay, I like the way this is looking. I'm going to stop there. And, you know, I think it'd be cool to add a little bit of, I bet there were some of these. You can just water down your paint. This will be the last thing I do. I'm going to maybe borrow some of this color here. No, that's not a good color. Let's take this and let's just lighten it and color it a tiny bit. Here we go. And then I'm going to put a few of these in there, just some squiggles, and then I'll just blend them sideways. Maybe there's just a few of these, and you can really scrunch them very squished together, you know, where they're along a surface in the background. Maybe these weren't even there, but they're just kind of fun to add in. I see that you've added them in, you know, so I'm just having some fun running with it, adding some more. Okay, I'm going to get my blender tool and really just drag those side to side, not up and down, because this is along a ground surface, so the perspective will really flatten it. So I'm just taking my smear tool, running my finger along, just getting rid of the sharper edges, hoping to capture the essence of a few little caustics on the ground, because it's kind of nice to have that under those light rays. Okay, I'm going to stop there. Here you go. I'm going to download this picture and I'm going to send it to Donnette. So let's go like this. File, hit the down arrow, and I'm going to send that to her. And hopefully this will be helpful to summarize everything we looked at. We're trying to add midtones wherever there's color lost between a dark shadow and a bright highlight. And we're trying, and to clarify, to elaborate on that, it's because paint subtracts color where light does not. So we're trying to simulate light most of the time. And so we want to restore color where it looks like it gets lost between a dark shadow and a highlight. I'm sorry, I got kind of obsessed with this. I'm starting to enjoy this a bit too much. I'm blending that. I saw some hard edges. This really doesn't need to happen. I'm just distracted. Okay, there we go. That's the final result for me, and hopefully this gives you some helpful things to work on. There's other things, you know, we could do some other things. I'm sorry, I'm going to add a couple more things to this that I think might be cool, because we're talking about drama. You want drama, you want motion, movement, you know. Here's some things. Lighting up the underside of something can also be done strategically, even if it's not part of the original. It looks like you've done it a little here. I'm going to take this color. We're going to say light is bouncing off of the sea floor. See, the sunlight comes down, hits the bottom, reflects back up, and hits bottom edges. And this looks especially nice if you already have a shadow. So watch, I'm going to do underside of the leg, right along here. Well, too big of a line. Well, you don't want it that big. Just a little bit will go a long way. And it's just a line, that's all it is. We're going to go along here, like this. We'll go down here. And I'm leaving the shadow in place that was there. See that? Now that leg pops out and has the lighting from underneath hitting it, and we get rid of some outline effect in the process. Let's do it with this arm. Here we go. Let's do a little piece on the hand here. We kind of missed the mark on the hand. Let's go here. Then we'll go here. Zoop, right there. And then we'll do a little bit in here too on that arm. Maybe not so much on the inside of the arm because that's facing a darker object there. Then on the shorts, we can edge light that too. Let's get this color right here. I'm just getting a pixel that's between the two things. There we go, bring it right down there. Now we've got some of the light from the background reflecting off the edge of the shorts. I wonder if there might have been a few little wrinkles on those shorts. Like that. That might be in there, I don't know. Okay, so edge lighting the undersides of things can get that magical 3D lighting. A nice little trick to use. Let's do it with this turtle. Let's take some of this color here. Let's go right here, and let's do, it's not a bright color, you know, we're letting it go to dark shadow, and then we're going back to a slightly lighter shadow in order to put light reflecting off of something underneath and up onto the bottom of the object. So maybe this comes up here, and then maybe you got the fin right there. Sorry, it's not a fantastic job on my part. I'm going to add some blue. Let's separate these things. Now that I made this blue, I feel like I should also go in here and kind of color that shadow, make it a little more uniform, you know. There we go. But see how that bottom edge, it's you know, it's not my finest work, I wouldn't say, but it adds a 3D element that may be hardly even visible in the real picture, but nevertheless it can be a drama enhancing effect, you know, that can be cool. I'm going to use that color. Let's see what that looks like on this chin right there. How about that? That's cool. I like the way that one looked. Might be a little bit on the light side, maybe. Put some colors in there. Let's put a little bit under the knee of the fin. You've already got it there. I see you've done it a little bit in there. You've got that effect. So, you know, no harm in strategically enhancing it. Gradients are super powerful. I'm sorry, I said I was going to wrap it up, and then I saw more stuff. If you have an object and coming out from under another object, you know, this gradient is a super powerful thing. So I'm going to take this rock color in here, and I'm just going to start making little shapes going fewer and fewer back into that dark shadow, because the gradient gradually fading off into the shadow adds a nice 3D effect. That ground will look deeper, further, if it gradually changes. So let's do this, make some of that color. I'm just scribbling colors, but you can see what I'm doing. Less and less of it. Perhaps it was my adjustments to the picture, the coloring that took away the original gradient because I wanted to add the blue. But the more gradually you can make that happen instead of a sharp edge, the more you can capture the look of a very three-dimensional transition of a ground surface coming out from under some shadow. So just by making that gradient that gets darker as it goes into that shadow. Good trick for shadows under trees, bushes, things along the ground. There, see how it makes a surface going back. You get more depth that way. Okay, now I really should stop. I feel that I'm starting to go overboard, giving too much. Those are things that can be worked on. Hopefully that's helpful to you. I'm going to download it again because the one I downloaded was not up to date anymore. I'll send that picture to you, Donnette. Thank you very much for submitting. And if anyone else has a very specific question, I want to make short videos. This one did not end up short, but I hope it was helpful. Short answers to single questions is something that I'm more likely to make a video for you about. So if you've got a specific question and you want me to tinker with your work just like I did on this one, send that to me. And if you watch my live streams on Saturday morning, then you will get the email to send it to. I want you to watch those live streams in order to get that email so that I'm not just getting flooded with a lot of less relevant things. I would love to see you there. Okay, thanks everybody. It's been a pleasure, and I'll see you on the next video.